Hi there, I'm Kathleen Jasper, and do you suffer from imposter syndrome? Or do you even know what imposter syndrome is? Well, we're going to talk about it today and some ways to combat it. Let's get started. All right, so with the new year coming up, and I'm sure many of you are thinking about new ways in which you can put yourself out there and try new things, inevitably the imposter syndrome starts to kick in. And so if you're not familiar with imposter syndrome in terms of the definition, I'm sure you're familiar with the imposter syndromes in terms of the feeling. So imposter syndrome, I have it up here on my presentation. Imposter syndrome, also called perceived fraudulence, involves feelings of self-doubt and personal incompetence that persist despite your education, experience, and accomplishments. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this today is because I suffer from imposter syndrome all the time. And a lot of people don't understand that because I'm always putting myself out there and I seem like a very confident person online or whatever. And, I do have some confidence, but I suffer from imposter syndrome all the time. And I'm constantly thinking like, is anybody even going to like this? Who do I think I am trying to do a video on this? Or who do I think I am starting my own company, quitting my job and putting myself out there? And this was apparent when I first quit my job and started this company. So many people were like, you'll never make it. You'll never make any money. What are you going to do about insurance? I mean, all of these, and I like to call them soul suckers, who wanted to kind of pull me back down to reality, what they called it. But really, it was just people who really wanted to do the same thing, but they didn't have enough guts to do it themselves, as far as I'm concerned. But soon into starting my own company, I mean, the feelings of imposter syndrome persisted. I even had people tell me, why do you think anybody would hire you to do these things? There are a million other companies out there that people hire. So I wanted to do a video today to help you get through this. Now, you may not be starting your own company, or maybe you are. Congratulations, go for it. But you might be, starting a master's program or starting a doctoral program. You might be going for a new job at a new school, or maybe going for a leadership position. And inevitably, those imposter syndrome feelings will seep in. I remember when I first went back to school for my first master's degree, I felt very much out of place and almost like, I don't think I'm smart enough to be here. These people have it together way more than I do. And you know what? Every single other person in the room was probably feeling the exact same way. So today I thought I would do a take on what I love on the Jimmy Kimmel Show when they read mean tweets. And it's when these celebrities read mean tweets about themselves and kind of laugh at themselves. And I find this to be really therapeutic. And I also want to show that, despite the fact that I have so many 5-star reviews and all of these good comments from all of you, you guys are amazing. You write me the sweetest emails, you write me the nicest comments. And despite that, I always zero in on the 1 2-star review or the one mean comment somebody wrote on my YouTube channel, rather than the hundreds of happy, loving, supportive comments. So I thought today I would read some of these mean comments and we could have a little laugh and then kind of use them and kind of knock myself down to size in a way, but also remember that these mean comments are going to happen. Whenever you put yourself out there, whenever you publish something, whenever you teach something, someone's going to disagree with you. Someone's going to write you a nasty email. And right now, teachers are a target. I cannot believe how much the press and other people who have zero education experience have so many opinions about teachers and what they're doing and all of that. And now that's just historical, right? People have been calling teachers communists and pushing a liberal agenda and all of this since McCarthyism. Look it up, okay? They were rounding up professors and putting them in jail and calling them communists. This has been going on for a really long time. So I thought we would read some mean comments about me, have a laugh, and then talk about some of the ways in which I overcome this imposter syndrome and the fact that this imposter syndrome seeps in even when I'm feeling the most confident. So let's have a look at some of these comments. All right, so as you can see on my Amazon author page, if you hover over these books, you can see all these 5-star reviews, right? Tons of 5-star reviews, lots and lots of 5-star reviews. But what do? I go into the reviews and I scroll down and I click the 1 star and see what somebody said, or the 2 star and see what somebody said. It's just kind of the masochist in me. It's like, I want to beat myself up. I don't want myself to feel too good about anything. And it becomes unproductive, but also, it can be kind of soul sucking, like I mentioned before. But I thought today that we would take a look at some of these comments and have a laugh at myself and just kind of not take ourselves too seriously. All right. So you can see all of these comments are nice. People write the nicest things. And then we have something like this. So this is my Praxis 5039 book. This is an English language arts book. It's meant for English teachers, and English teachers are tough. Okay, they're very serious about their content area. I was an English teacher, and I know that some of the people who are going to pick up this book for their certification exam are going to rip my book apart because they're English teachers. So you can see that pretty much I've got mainly 5-star reviews, and most of the comments are very, very favorable. People have been so nice. They passed their test, yada, yada. And then we come to probably my favorite comment that made me laugh out loud about this book. Here we go. 2 stars. Beware. Lack of nuance, grammatical errors, and typos. And here's the comment. To be sure, the book offers a somewhat helpful overview of the content for the 5039. Okay, thank you. Somewhat helpful. If you, however, expected accuracy of content, you've come to the wrong place. Even without spending the time fact-checking, I ran into a bunch of errors. W.E.B. Du Bois was not a Harlem Renaissance figure. Cervantes is not a Latino-American author. Hell, he never left Europe. And if you're going to put Jack Kerouac under literary modernism, which he arguably isn't, then you better have Joyce or Hemingway, both of whom the author failed to mention. There are also plenty of grammatical issues that are not acceptable for a published guide to English language arts of all subjects. Now, perhaps this person does know that W.E. Du Bois was not technically a Harlem Renaissance writer, but he did influence Harlem Renaissance writers. And maybe I should have been more clear about that in my book, right? And then, of course, he goes on and on about Cervantes and Jack Kerouac and all of that. I find this to be funny because I can just see an angry English major typing away on his keyboard and angry about all these things. But I will point out that while my book does have grammatical errors, there are a few grammatical errors in this comment. So if you're going to call somebody out on grammatical errors, and I do have grammatical errors in my books, of course, it happens. I'm going to go ahead and point out a couple grammatical errors in this comment. So it says, if you, however, right here. Well, there should be a couple of commas there. If you, comma, however, comma, expected accuracy of content, comma, you've come to the wrong place. Even without spending the time fact-checking, comma, I ran into a bunch of errors. Well, sir, I have run into 5 different places where a comma is needed, and you did not use one. So I chalked this one up as kind of a funny comment. It did kind of crush me a little bit when I read it, but you know what? It happens. And you got to give the guy credit. He definitely took the time to write a pretty awesome review. All right. Next, helpful, but so many typos. Now, I get kind of freaked out about my typos, and everybody makes them. I've written somewhere between 12 and 15 books in the last year and a half. So, there are going to be grammatical slip-ups. And I do get nice emails from people who are like, hey, I found an error on page 35 of this book. And those actually go into a database. I keep them all in a spreadsheet for when we make second editions. I'm always sure to go back in and fix those. And so I really appreciate feedback. So this doesn't really upset me in the fact that it's feedback, but it does sometimes crush your soul a little bit. Here we go. This workbook seems to be providing the necessary information for readers to perform well on this particular Praxis exam. Okay, great. That's the job of the book. However, comma, As an English teacher, comma, now this person uses her commas properly, I am finding it difficult to ignore the typos and spelling errors. These errors cause me to question the credibility of this study tool. To be fair, the information seems to be correct thus far. I am hopeful that this will help me pass my test. Now, what did I do with imposter syndrome alert? Instead of looking at some of the nicer things this person said about the book being adequate and helpful, I zeroed in on, oh my God, there's typos. Oh my God, people are going to think I'm an idiot. Why do I even write books? I shouldn't be writing books. I'm an idiot. And that's where my brain goes. And I'm sure you guys have felt the same situation. Now, here's another comment that I liked, talking about the typos, but in a very helpful way. Let's check out this person. 5 stars. Gotta love it. This book is well written and give a ton of opportunities for practice. The book goes through each objective closely, and I do go through each objective closely. Thank you so much. It does have some grammatical errors in the practice questions, but that could be an easy fix for the author. Overall, this book is helping me to feel confident about taking the exam. So this person pointed out a couple of grammatical errors, and there probably are, but she also talked about some of the good things that the book provided her, and she's not like mean-spirited. So I really like this review. It helps me to understand what I'm doing wrong, but it also boosts my confidence a little bit in that she did find it helpful, and that makes me happy. Okay, now for YouTube comments. Now, most of you give me the nicest YouTube comments, and I love them, or you ask questions, or you even will sometimes point out that I made an error, specifically on my math YouTube. So for math, I get a little bit nervous because I know a lot of math teachers are watching the channel, and math is partly my content area, but not some of that high level math. So I'm forthcoming and say, look, I don't always know the precise reason why you can't have a negative in the denominator, but find somebody else who can explain that to you, right? And people will usually reply back like, that's so funny. I'm a math teacher. You don't really need to know the reason why. You just need to know that you can't have it, whatever. But sometimes people can be upset. And so here's one that I found, and I was totally freaked out by this comment, but then I realized this person was probably just struggling. And it says, number 1, your tone is pretty condescending to the listeners here. We're just trying to learn. 2, titles of poems should be in quotation marks, which you didn't do in the first paragraph. 3, and this goes on, the word breathe is spelled incorrectly. And then the next comment says, condescending tone you've got. So this person thinks I'm condescending, and maybe I am. I do remember this video and doing this video. I was trying to explain to people that if you're going to take the English exam, you really need to think like an English major, and you've got to have proper grammar. You've got to have good writing. They're not going to give you an English certification unless you can pass a test that really focuses on those things. This was one of my earlier videos. Maybe I was a little bit condescending. This was actually a good comment for me because I think it's important to reflect back on my tone and make sure that I'm not being condescending. And, I'm not for everybody, right? And so while this did kind of crush my soul when I first read it, I actually use it now to kind of help me understand the way I'm coming across on video. So that's really helpful. All right, then we get to social studies comments. Now, the social studies people, I love you. You guys are amazing. But there's always this back and forth with social studies people, especially when I do social studies content, because there are people out there where history, world history, ancient civilizations, it's their passion. They know everything about it, right? And I'm just kind of doing test prep to get you through the test. I didn't study ancient civilizations in college, and I get it wrong sometimes. And usually I will either do a follow-up video to correct those errors, or I'll put in the description, I misspoke. It was actually this date or that date. So here's one that somebody wrote. You're unbelievably wrong about the Crusades. Unbelievably wrong. Well, there was no theology exchange between Europeans and Muslims. Muslims introduced Europeans to a lot of mathematical ideas, including the concept of zero. Now, the reason why I liked this comment was it made me go back and take a look at the mathematical piece. I think it's important for the social studies exam that you understand this. It is in the test specifications. But I mean, was I unbelievably wrong about the Crusades? The Crusades were religious wars, and I mentioned that, but I probably misspoke when I said a few things about, Europeans pushing their religion on Muslims or whatever. But really what the Crusades were about were Europeans trying to take back Jerusalem from Muslims and in that kind of territory there. So yes, I misspoke. Unbelievably wrong. It's a little strong, but you know what this comment did? It made me really want to dig into ancient civilizations, and I have been obsessed with reading and learning about ancient civilizations. So the next video I do, I won't be unbelievably wrong. I might be somewhat correct. So that's helpful. All right, and this is probably one of my favorite comments of all. So this came from one of my videos on Facebook, Early European Exploration. And this is where I was talking about slavery and how slaves were brought from Africa to the United States, and they were used to build the United States. So, and I often say that without slavery and disease, the United States would not be what it is today. Now, you can go back and check out this video. It's Early European Exploration. I'll link it down in the comments below. But I'm very adamant about teaching slavery properly, giving the full view of what was going on, because I believe as a teacher that is our job, and that it's been whitewashed, and that we kind of go, oh, nothing to see here. Yeah, we had slaves, but it's over. It's over. Nothing to see there. So I kind of get into it when I'm talking about early European exploration to the Americas. So this one came up. Kathleen, I like your content. I really do. But your white guilt is a little much. White guilt for accurately portraying what slavery is. So this one, when I got this comment, I immediately wanted to just reply back and just eviscerate this person online. But then I thought, you know what? All that does is feed the trolls, and all that does is feed the negativity. If this person feels that talking about slavery in an accurate way and talking about it in a way in which it's explained in depth, then that's that person's business. It's not my business. But this comment had me seething for like a day. I kept showing it to my husband. Can you believe this person said this? Look at this comment. Can you believe that this person said this about what I was talking about? I was just accurately talking about slavery. Well, everybody's got an opinion, and that's just the way it is. So it's important to take all of these with a grain of salt. And there are many, many more angry comments, 1-star reviews, things like that. And so the reason I'm sharing this with you today is because I think it's important that we don't take ourselves too seriously. And sometimes we do that, especially in education, because it's a serious subject. And the second thing is don't let nasty comments, nasty emails, maybe an exchange with a coworker, or even that feeling of inferiority or that imposter syndrome hold you back from doing things that you are good at. You're always going to get a nasty comment. You're always going to get someone who disagrees with you. When you put yourself out there, people are going to let you know that they don't like you. And so that's just the way it goes. Now, for the most part, the comments I get are lovely. People are so excited. They pass their test. They send me emails. They send me notes. It's just always tons of love. But I sometimes will zero in on these negative comments and let them derail me from the work at hand. So go for it. Go for that new job. Start a company. Write a new book. Publish on Amazon. Go for the assistant principal position. Maybe you want to be department head and somebody's been department head for 20 years and you think you might be a better department head. Go for the department head position. If you are thinking about getting a master's degree or a doctorate and you're feeling major imposter syndrome, which I can completely relate to, do it. Go for the master's, go for the doctorate, because you know what? You can do hard things, and you can do all the things if you put your mind to it. And someone will inevitably give you a bad comment. Somebody will inevitably give you some feedback. And I say, take that feedback in with a grain of salt, use it to become better, and keep going. Don't let the soul suckers stop you from doing what you can do. All right? It's about to be a new year, and I say put yourself out there. Thank you so much for watching today. Give this video a thumbs up or a comment below. And if you don't like it, you can even leave a nasty comment. I'll be happy to respond. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. We have a ton of videos on my YouTube channel. Please consider subscribing and following me on my social media networks at Kathleen Jasper. Have a great day.